Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. Going to bring in our friends over on IG so they can be a part of our chat for today. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live. Excited to welcome back Dr. Anissa Short to our broadcast today. We have a lot to talk to her about. She's beginning the new year off with some new projects. We're going to talk about that, but also being able to stay true to herself and what she's been able to do in connecting her message with others and empowering them along the way. We're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on Amazon, welcome. I'm going to type you guys a welcome message over there. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see some of the books by Anissa Short there in the carousel there. You'll see part of her series, the Becoming series. I have some of them here with me in the studio. Also, of course, the last time that we were on, we talked about the book you guys can see here, The Quintessential Woman, as well as, I'm going to highlight it for you guys too, Peaceful Transformation, a great way to be able to begin the new year as well. Going to talk to Anissa not only about what it's been like for her in the world of publishing, but also media and what she has coming up for you guys. Anissa, welcome back to the broadcast.
Hi, Cyrus. Thanks so much again for another invitation to hang out with you.
Look, I appreciate it. Glad to have you on with us, and we're going to let our audience know how to stay connected with you as well in this. And I want to say, if Anissa looks familiar, she also is featured in the new issue of Mississippi Success Magazine, out now on Amazon as well. So, Anissa, I want to begin here in kind of talking about the end of last year coming into this year. What was it like for you to not only reflect on how big 2025 was for you, but also the things you were preparing for as you entered the new year?
Oh, wow, Cyrus, that's an excellent question. And let me say this before I do. Thanks once again for being a part of all the wow that happened in 2025.
Mm.
20 last year was very interesting for me because it kicked off in a very peculiar way.
Mm.
Um, I had a lot of life to happen, not only from
Mm.
a personal standpoint, but as you know, Dr. Norman McLaughlin, my mentor and the person that I work closely with, had some challenges as well in life.
Mm.
And so it made the year start off very challenging, but at the same time, I knew that I had to step up to the plate and get the job done.
Mm.
And so because of that, the year starting off that way, and then in the middle of the year, my husband and I moved, and we
Mm.
moved to the state of Mississippi from North Carolina. So there was like a 90-day adjustment there on,
Okay.
selling a house, packing up a house, finding a house, moving into the house, getting settled in the house. And so when I look back on 2025, one of the things I realized is that because I was determined to continue to move, even though my movement may not have been typically like it was in previous years, we still accomplished a lot as a Chosen Pen group.
Yeah.
I published 2 books. I help others get over 20 some odd people get their book published in the new year. I
Wow.
had various speaking engagements. And so while I felt like I may have been like a turtle or moving in slow motion because of things that were going on, I still was fortunate to make a difference and make an impact. And for that, I said it had to be all God, because I had no clue. I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
moving.
And I appreciate you sharing that, Anissa, but it brings up a couple points I hope our audience takes away from that, because life is happening to all of us. And
Yes.
I think we all then have a choice. Even this year, I was telling my mom, Anissa, before we went on here, about Tabitha Brown's video she made over the weekend telling 2026 to get in the corner and sit down and don't move. Because there's been a lot already happening in this year
Yeah, I
too.
know.
But what gave you the strength? You mentioned it was all God, but what gave you the strength to say, you know what? Even though all of these things are happening, I know I still have more to do.
What I say is this: a lot of times people look at challenges in their life as losses or a reason to get in a corner and sit down and be quiet, that type
Yeah.
of thing. But
Yeah.
my past has taught me, I took the lesson from it, that just because life happens, you don't stop. You can
Mm.
keep moving. You may not move at the same pace, but
Mhm.
just keep moving. And if you maintain a positive attitude, I think if people were to go back and look at my social media, they will see pictures of me in the hospital room, still with my computer propped up in my husband's hospital room. Because I was like, okay, yeah, he's in the hospital. We're doing what it takes to make sure he's okay, but I refuse to quit. So
Yeah.
I would have my computer. I could take my business anywhere, was the message. So
Yeah.
you just have to give yourself the grace
Mm.
that you need. You know, you may not be able to move at 50 miles an hour, but even if you have to do only 20 miles an hour, just don't stop. I had
Yeah.
learned that lesson in previous years, and I was just determined to implement it even the more. You know, that's the only thing I can say. That thought in my
Mhm.
mind is what kept me going.
Mm. You mentioned by doing that and sharing that, Anissa, that you were letting other people know what they could do for themselves. And yes, everyone's situation is different. But how does that know that by posting things like that and even sharing things like that, like you did today, that that has been empowering for others, especially women, which is a big part of your audience, and reminding them of the importance of not giving up on themselves?
One of the things I know that women typically do or have been known to do is, unfortunately, and maybe just say people, is the comparison game. They
Mhm.
will look at what someone else has accomplished and they will look at that person. And in doing so, they look at that person's strength and they automatically compare it to their weakness, what they consider to be their weaknesses. So we find
Right.
ourselves saying things like, well, it's different for you. You just don't understand what I'm going through, or I'm not like you, or this, that, and the third. If we're not truthful, and what I mean by truthful is being, if we're not willing to be authentic and transparent with the episodes that happen in chapters of our life, we
Yep.
don't give people a true picture of what life is all about. If I always post my wins but I don't share my struggles, then I'm telling people that I'm not human, and that's not true.
Mhm.
So I
Right.
think it's important to always, you don't have to divulge everything, but it's
Mhm.
important for people to see that, yeah, you have life that happens as well, that things are not always as you would desire them to be,
Yeah.
but you can be a living testimony or a testament of the fact that if you just don't quit, things can work out. So that's why it's important. I'm always saying we should be as authentic as and as transparent to the level that we feel comfortable, because we not only show people how that we do experience wins, but we also show the challenges and the different seasons of our lives that we have to push through to create those wins.
Love that. Such a great point and such a great reminder. I want to get some shout outs here on this. I appreciate you guys over there on YouTube. Glad you could be with us. Drew08 over on IG. Hello to you. Angel Charmaine. Hello to you. Hey, Angel. Good to be to see you. I'm not really sure. Is it pronounced a move, maybe a move? Hello to you. Earn for love. Hello to you as well. For those of you joining us also over there on Amazon, appreciate you guys. You are watching Cyrus Webb Presents. We're simulcasting this. We're on Amazon Live, where you can see and get Anissa's books. But we also are simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. We're talking with her about the build up from 2025 and how she's using that heading into this year. You mentioned, of course, releasing your own books, helping other people, but you also are coming into this year as well with a lot of great things happening, Anissa, and that is expanding on your media brand. First
Yeah.
of all, have you gotten comfortable enough to be able to acknowledge that you are building your own media company?
I didn't realize I was building a media company until you told me. I'm just doing what I do, Cyrus. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? So, Conversations with Chosen Pen was my first baby, or is my first
Mhm,
baby, thanks to Dr. Norma McLaughlin. I was thrust into this platform by working with her, and of course, I've continued to take it on and did what I could to add the added jazz or spice to it. You know, for the
mhm,
consistency and the longevity of that platform. In the course of that, my husband and I decided also to start something that we have been discussing forever, about hosting events that support married couples or those who desire to be married. And so
mhm,
we call it the Love and Laughter Experience, because that's been our mantra of regarding our marriage. We always wanted it to be filled with love and laughter. And so we planned, when we were living in North Carolina, to host like these every 2 months, some type of event, whether it be couples going bowling, going to get together for dinner. It's not a counseling session, but it's just a way for couples to get together and build community.
yeah,
Well, we moved. So I'm like, well, how are we going to do this now? Okay. So so we decided to do these once a month virtuals. And
yeah.
so we've already got the first quarter booked for 2025, with the
Wow.
guests to come on and talk. So that was another baby. And then my husband had been talking about facilitating his own, curating his own podcast, Man Exchange, which is a build upon his mentorship. He's been mentoring kids for years, serving on boards of organizations that serve children. And then for a year and a half, working in the local schools when we were in North Carolina, you going in and talking to third, fourth, and fifth grade boys. And so now that we're in a new space, why not go ahead and evolve? And so his Man Exchange podcast is going to begin soon. and
Mhm.
we're getting the foundations of it and invites sent out. And so I'm of course helping him to facilitate that. He's the lead, but I'm the behind the scenes. And so
Right.
that plus another friend of mine asking, can we get this meet me at the marketplace podcast up and going again? I'm like, girl, let's do it. And then of course you say you have a media platform, and I'm like, how is that? And I went, oh, okay, I guess I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think too, I look at this as serving three different buckets here, and this is what you're doing. I hope our audience caught that because I say all the time the only way I've had the success I've had with conversations is one, there was a need, but then two, being able to meet that need and bring people in to be able to do exactly what you're doing, Anissa, and that is to facilitate that need. And so, when you're being able to do that with conversation with Chosen Pen, providing that platform for authors, which is so needed because there's so many authors out here who
it
don't know
is.
how to promote themselves, how to get the word out there about themselves. And then what you mentioned, that you're in a unique position, you're in a unique niche with your husband, being able to do that for a married couple. That's a different bucket, totally different whether they have a book or not, being able to
Yeah,
have that conversation. And then as you mentioned with the marketplace, again, another audience and another opportunity. Is that something, I have called you before about your being the connector. We've talked about that. Do you see yourself when you kind of step back and look at it, that that's exactly what you're doing in all these
it
different ways,
is.
whether we're talking about books or media, that you're still connecting in some way?
It is. It's exactly what I'm doing. But I would have to say that was not what I endeavored to call myself. I just believe in what I make happen for others. What God will bless my efforts. I'm a server at heart to help
Mhm.
people. And so being in this business space, the name, the connector was given to me while living in North Carolina because they said she knows everybody. She meets everyone. If you have a need, call Anissa first. And I was like, no, I don't know that many people. And then eventually they proved me wrong over and over and over again.
Mhm.
So, I shared this with you once before, Cyrus, is that when I moved to North Carolina, I didn't know anyone. I mean, I was an entrepreneur then. And my mind's philosophy is I can't expect people to give to me or to support me if I'm not supporting them first. I look
Yeah.
at myself as a seed being planted. And so coming here to the state of Mississippi, although I'm familiar with the state, I lived here many years ago and just left, but I'm in a new area that I've
Mhm.
not been in a long time. And so, but that philosophy remains. Before I expect anyone to receive me in support of me, I need to be out there supporting them first. And so I just took that philosophy and for 2026, we're hitting the ground running. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a special announcement to share exclusively here at the end of our broadcast that's going to be coming up for sure. I want to go to something as I was prepping for your segment, Anissa. I want to go back to the book, The Quintessential Woman. I have it highlighted for you guys on the Amazon side because I thought about something that you wrote in this book. And yes, I'm one of those nerds that somehow I'm able to retain information. And I thought about this would be an interesting thing to share with our audience and to talk about in this. And you were talking about, of course, for those who don't know, the quintessential woman is based on the principles of Proverbs 31. For those, of course, that are Bible readers, you'll be familiar with that. But Dr. Nessa mentioned something interesting in the book. I have my trusty piece of my legal pad. This is very sophisticated bookmark here. Uh,
You're so practical, Cyrus.
I know. With verse number 14, that she is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. This is on page 19, but on page 20, you give an application, which is how this book is kind of presented. You have the verse, and then you give an application or a call to action. This is what you say about the life application. I want to talk about this with you, Doctor, in this a short. Risk takers are the ones who will go the extra mile. They face fear and do it anyway. Unlike the average person, they are big thinkers, big dreamers, and big doers. They cannot be satisfied with average outcomes. With each new dream comes the challenge, but they are willing to face it. They know that the more challenging conquest secures their livelihood and changes the trajectory of their legacy. That's exactly what you've been talking about in this conversation. So I want to ask you, what has it been like for you to recognize that you are not just a risk taker, but someone who not only thinks big, but are able to do big things?
Now, of course, you may say I'm crazy. I've never looked at anything that I've been doing as big or
Mm.
risky
Okay.
because it fits my personality. Does that make sense? It
Yeah.
falls in line with my giftings. When I look back when working in banking and finance, and when I was with the federal government, much of what I did was outreach, I trained, I mentored, because of the positions in which I held, those
Mhm.
responsibilities were assigned to me or fell in my lap. I'm taking those same skill sets and using them in a different way. When I became engaged in publishing, it was because I decided to write a book. But then Dr. Norma, began to involve me in other projects. I never saw myself being engaged in publishing,
Mhm.
but because of the skill set and the previous experiences I had, it was not nothing cumbersome for me. It wasn't until later when I look back, I go, wow, I have basically my trajectory has shifted totally from what I was doing before, using the same skills, gifts, and talents, but in a different industry. So I believe when you're open to opportunity,
Mhm.
that happens. And while for others, they may say, wow, you're really, when I left the government, it was a risk because there was stable income, there was good
Yeah.
benefits. And, many people looked at that. I weighed the pros and cons. So that was, a faith thing because I knew I needed to from a mental health and physical health perspective. At the same time,
True.
there is a level of risk of leaving a traditional job and, steady income. So
Mhm.
there were some risk involved, but I don't think I weighed as much on the risk as much as I knew that what opportunities were being presented to me, my gift skills and talents fit. And then because I was open to one door, it led to another door. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. So I want to be a little bit more blunt in the next question then. Because when I read that particular passage, it reminded me of this, Anissa. There are a lot of people who talk big, but they don't do. And
Right.
what you talked about in that particular instance is okay, it's one thing to dream big, but what are you going to do? So I guess my
Right.
my real question to you then would be at the end of that, what is it that helped you to make the transition from just thinking about it to actually doing it?
It's important to have the right circle around you of big
Mhm.
thinkers. If you want to do big things, you must be in a place where other people will push you to do those things, but they're doing big things themselves.
Mhm.
So Dr. Norma was a catalyst to me moving
Mhm.
into the speaking place, the speaking platform, the publishing platform. And so she pushed because she saw something in me that
Yeah.
led to me meeting people like you, Cyrus. And even though I was not as connected to you as I am now, I watch and I see. My being
Mhm.
connected to you came through her. And so I've used this phrase before. I don't mind being a copycat as long as I'm copying the right cat. So I could
Yeah.
see how you would do multiple things. I'm like, you know what? I think I could do a little bit of that too. So
Mhm.
it has everything to do with environment. It really does. You can't
I
think
love that.
big and want to have big things and then stay around small minded, limited thinking people. Your
Yeah.
environment has a lot to do with it.
I love that. So let's turn it around on our audience then, Anissa. What would you say to them about now that we're into 2026 with all of its interesting early developments that have been happening all over us? What
Right.
would you say to them about the importance of not just thinking big and talking big, but also doing big things?
I was at a conference the 1st of December, and it was a retreat in the state of Kansas. And one of the ladies there, Miss Deneen, was one of the speakers, and she had a phrase, and I hope I don't mess this up, but she says, "Girl, check your circle." That was
Mm.
her conversation. And she says, we're much like the five people that we are closest to, that we closely
Wow.
interact with. And she
Wow.
says, in checking your circle, if you are the one that everyone else comes to, you need to find another 4 or 5 people so that then you feel intimidated and you can go to them because you
Mm.
you have very likely outgrown your circle. It's not to
Yeah.
say that they're not great people, not to say that they don't have value in your life, but they're just not the people that's going to push you to your next level because they
Mm.
are in need of you, whereas you need another circle to push you rather than you being the person to push all the time.
Yeah.
So as people get ready to happy new year and have these new resolutions, there's going to require some change. So
Yeah.
my advice would be to check your circle. Who
Yeah.
are the people that you're most intimately, most consistently having conversation with? If they're not the big thinkers, big dreamers, big doers, you won't likely be as well.
I love that. That's such a great point. And I that's what it goes to what I tell people too. I don't like being considered the smartest person in the room. I
Hmm.
think we all need someone that we can
We
learn from.
do.
Otherwise, we're all stunted.
That's
We stunt our
true.
own growth, and that becomes a ripple effect because if we're
Right.
stunted, then the people watching us will be stunted too and think they can't go any higher. I love
Right.
that. So, as you have entered this new year, then I want to talk about mindset for a second because as you've said, and I love this point you mentioned, and that is that all of us are going through something, whether people know it or not. I know I shared recently, Anissa. I hadn't talked about it a lot publicly, but I lost two cousins last year,
Mm.
fairly close together. One was younger than me, and then one was older than myself. And so there, and then my mom had some health challenges at the beginning of last year, and so I was dealing with that. And then had one of my good friends died last year, and so
Oh,
there's
wow.
been a lot of that. Then this year kicks off, and another friend of mine has already died this year.
Oh, wow.
And so their life is happening. What would you say to our audience though about giving themselves the permission to acknowledge, but as you were talking about being in the hospital room, not stopping because of challenges that come our way.
You have to have this internal grit. You really do. Everybody's level of grit is not the same, but you have
Yeah,
got to have kind of like a dogma where I don't care, I'm going to keep going. And
yeah,
again, going forward, some days may be 100 miles an hour, and another day it may be 35, but you
yes,
hadn't stopped. So
yeah,
don't stop. Life
mhm,
is not going to stop lifing. It's
yeah,
not. It is,
mhm,
just as soon as you get out of one wilderness experience and you go, whoo, that was, we survived it. Then, before you can exhale, you're back in another one, whether
mhm,
it be directly or indirectly. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna
mhm,
stop. So you can't stop. You
right,
cannot stop. You just cannot stop. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. You may have to slow down, you may have to
yeah,
regroup, you may
yeah,
have to have a moment. A
mhm,
moment can be a day, not 6 months,
mhm,
but you got to keep going towards, because it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be smooth sailing. There are going
right,
to be times when it's going to be easier than others, but it's never going to be 100% smooth sailing. And when
yeah,
you realize that, when you truly accept that, and it's, you can move forward. As soon as you start thinking that it ought to be, you may become discouraged and disgruntled and just quit. But once I realize life is going to keep lifing, so I got to keep
mhm.
pushing.
Love that. Cayman Kelly, hello to you, man. Hey, Cayman, we had to get together. Appreciate you joining us over there on IG. That's such a great point, and I hope our audience receives that. And I want to add to what Anissa said and said, yeah, give yourself permission, yeah, because you are human to grieve, to do whatever works
Exactly.
for you, and know that all of us grieve differently. I remember
Right.
after my grandmother died, that was hard for me, but I took the time I needed. But
Right.
like Anissa said, you know going full speed may be different, but the important thing is to not give up.
That's
Again,
true.
everyone, Dr. Anissa Short has been our guest. A lot of great things coming up. Anissa, I'm excited about. Let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you to kind of keep up with all the updates.
Well, let's see. Follow me on Facebook. Dr. Anissa Short. They can follow me there. They can reach out to me via the company website, which is chosenpengroup.com.
Mhm.
And then under the contact me, that's directly to me as well. So those would be the two big best ways, I believe, the most direct ways in which they can reach out to me.
Love it, love it. Well, and that's excited about this year. I know a lot of great things are happening. Looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thanks so much, Cyrus. I appreciate you as well.
More than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Again, for you guys joining us on the Amazon side, see you guys over there. Make sure you guys do grab the books you guys see here by Dr. Nessa. There will probably be more by the time we have our next conversation together. So let you guys go ahead and get what's there now and then look for what's coming up. Until next time, though, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.